Keith, you have been now in Estonia approximately half a year. So what can you tell about the way you thought about the football here at first and what has come out now?
Honestly, first impressions were pretty tough. It was in a worse state than we expected. We knew it was going to be not anything close to England or the US where Peter worked, but it was a lot lower. It looked lower at the time than we expected, but a lot of that I think was due to the conditions that we were seeing people train and playing. I think that affected our observation. So once the weather started to get a little bit warmer and the fields were a little bit more usable and players looked like they could be footballers instead of ice skaters, it started to look better.
I know that you have had a lot of positive words on different players, so you have discovered quite many talents here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that I think I'm good at in my 30-odd years in football is identifying talent, and very quickly we recognised young players and senior players that definitely had technical skill and talent, and more importantly the potential to become even better. I've already named those players, the likes of Enne, Catherine Liu, the senior player Naiste, who apparently when we came here had been a bit of a problem, but she certainly hasn't been a problem to us. And I think probably her problems in the past were more linked to the fact that she was a frustrated player because she doesn't like getting beaten. And she was playing in teams that were getting beaten regularly, and she didn't like that. You
have had positive words about the players' attitude towards the training. How much does it differ? Are the players here in Estonia more positive about the training? Are they more willing to learn?
Compared to the English players, no. The same. And I think that's important. But I think that comes from the coaching method and man management of the players. Or player management. I don't say man management, maybe that's inappropriate, but managing the players and motivating the players and giving them a reason for doing what they're doing. And I think, you know, the first question to them was, could they buy into what we wanted and what we expected from them? And the majority of the players have. And you know, that's what's important. So they're prepared to work. They're prepared to try and understand why we're doing what we're doing. And they're starting to see the results very quickly. So who knows what can happen in a longer period of time.
You were a bit, in a positive way, shocking with the first good results in the Baltic Cup, also in winning the UEFA mini tournament in Armenia. So were these kind of surprises for you? And also I understood that you were beating the opponents with a better physical preparation.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I expected to win the Baltic Cup. I think I said that before. I thought that was a no-brainer. I thought the Baltic Cup was a foregone conclusion, and I'd have been very disappointed if we didn't win that. That's just based on history and what I already knew. So if we hadn't won those games, then I'd have been pretty upset, pretty angry. Armenia was a new concept. We didn't know. And obviously the last game against Armenia was a loss. And we'd watched the tapes for that game, and it was quite a bad loss and didn't perform well at all. Didn't know anything about Kazakhstan apart from the fact that they were kind of 30 places above us, around 20, 30 places above us in the rankings, so I expected a tough game. But the Armenia game and the Kazakhstan game, sort of in Armenia, in warm conditions, the physical preparation and strength preparation we'd done certainly came to the fore, came to the front. And you know, we not only outplayed them, we outstayed them. And I stated that when we came back, and that was really pleasing to see.
What do you expect from the World Cup qualification games that start in autumn, and are you also prepared to suffer some losses because the opponents are really tough, like Iceland or France?
I'm never prepared to suffer losses. There's a difference between being prepared and being realistic. I think the recent events in Serbia, with obviously what wasn't the national team, proves that you can't possibly win every game, and that's football. No team can win every game, otherwise football wouldn't be football. But we certainly believe that we can perform well against these teams, and realistically that's all we're going to ask of the players. If they perform to their best, you know, the truth is there's 11 players against 11 players. So if 11 players can perform at full strength, at full physical ability, at full commitment, then we have an opportunity to get results against these teams. If it goes wrong, we're still at a stage where we'll be looking to identify why, and obviously still looking a lot further ahead to the future, and maybe in the future making sure it doesn't happen again. Until you play these teams, you just don't know. But one thing we won't do, and one thing we refuse to do, even in Serbia, is look to defend for our lives. And some people go into games with a defensive mentality that's not in our makeup. If we go 1-0 up, then maybe we will. If it's 0-0 with a short space of time, then we'll play defensively. But we'll always look to attack teams, because if we don't teach the players that mentality for the future, then we'll become a defensive nation, and we're never going to win anything defending. We have to get the balance right.
About the local Meisterliga here, so you have decided that from next season it will be 6 teams instead of 8 now, and also the Esiliiga will be with 6 teams, and there will be a forming of the second league. So what can you tell about the club life here, about the players, about the coaches, about the club? What is the challenge of the year, or the challenge of this season for the women's football here?
The Meisterliga to me is an enigma. I think it has to happen, the reduction in teams, so that the top 6 teams in the Meisterliga can strengthen and the 6 teams can compete on a more even basis. So we hopefully see the end of 10-0s and 8-0s and stupid scorelines. You know, we need every game to be competitive for all the players to develop. The Reserve League will again give that opportunity as well for younger players to be part of a Meisterliga club, for injured players to play in games where they can rehabilitate correctly and not be rushed back into the major games. And in the future, the Meisterliga could become 8 or 10 teams again when the standard raises, but that will be a long time in the future. So the concept behind it is to make every team, every game competitive. So yesterday we went to see the bottom 2 sides at the moment in the Meisterliga, which was Noncayu and Curaçao, and it was an even game. It was not a good game, but it was an even game, which means both of those teams, that's the level they're at right now. If you go and watch Parnu v Levadia, that will be a 3-2 game, a 4-2 game. So they're evenly balanced, but both of those teams would beat the other 2 teams by 6 to 8 or more goals, and that has to stop. So hopefully it will motivate every player to want to play the game, because they won't be going out and getting beaten 10-0, and they won't be playing in games where they win 10-0, which becomes boring. So that's the concept behind that. I think the coaching has to improve, without disrespect. I think we've been very respectful since we've been here. I think it's typical in women's football for coaches that coach women's teams to be deemed as people that can't coach in the men's game, or don't want to coach in the men's game because they're not good enough or not confident enough. And other coaches in the men's game see those coaches as weaker coaches. Why are they coaching women's football? I can tell you right now, I've coached at all levels in both, and women's football being darn sight more difficult to coach than men's football, because you're starting from the beginning. What I think needs to happen is that we need a higher level coach working with women's football. There are 1 or 2 in the Meisterliga right now, but I think at the moment it's a case of I've got my coaching award and I'm going to coach the way I want to, not necessarily the way forward. And it's been difficult trying to get some of the coaches to agree to our methods or understand our methods. I think the time has come where, they should have no choice. I have to be strong on that. And people want us to do coaching clinics, want us to work grassroots. Grassroots starts from the top. It's converting the senior players who could become the coaches of the future to understand our methods and understand the best ways to coach young players. It's my hope sometime in the near future to run some English coaching courses. Obviously speaking to the coach education department in Estonia with Urmas and people like that. I hope there wouldn't be a problem with that. But my wish is that some of today's senior players will obviously look to become coaches in the future. And those are the ones that can affect the young children that aren't even born yet. And maybe that can work across the board.